Hey, church, I'm Sam.
I'm Greg.
And welcome to another episode of Afterthought, where we're going to be talking about Greg's message from Sunday morning out of Matthew chapter 26, verses 1 through 13. We are near the end of Matthew.
We're coming
You can see the
in
finish
for a
line.
landing. Yeah. Only about 2.5 more months.
Yeah, and 2.5 more chapters.
Yeah, there you go.
So this week's reading starts off with a quick little synopsis of the chief priests plotting to kill Jesus, which will, spoiler alert, ultimately come to fruition in a few chapters.
Shocker.
But the main part of the message was verses 6 through 13, where it says Jesus was in Bethany at the house of Simon the leper. And a woman came to him having an alabaster flask of very costly fragrant oil. She poured it out on his head. And then when the disciples saw it, they got really upset because this oil was worth a lot of money, and they could have used it.
Sold it, given it to the poor.
Yeah. They could have been charitable with it. And then when Jesus was aware of it, he said to them, "Why do you trouble the woman? For she has done a good work for me. For you always have the poor with you, but me you do not always have. For in pouring this fragrant oil on my body, she did it for my burial. Assuredly, I say to you, wherever this gospel is preached in the whole world, what this woman has done will also be told as a memorial to her." Which is pretty cool if you're her.
Yeah.
Like if you're sitting in the room and you're her and he just says that, do you kind of go like, you're like, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if the disciples were trying to flex there a little bit because, the rich young ruler, he told him to sell everything he owned, give it to the poor, and follow me. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if they were trying to recall that and go, hey, watch what I'm about to do, Mary. And
yes.
Jesus was like, yeah, guys, y'all missed the point.
It seems like every time the disciples act as though they get it, they just reveal that they don't.
Right. Yeah.
Pump the brakes.
Pretty interesting.
But you spoke. I want to jump to your first point. Worship is not efficient. That can be kind of jarring. I think, as the guy who's on stage leading worship most weeks, and grown up in church, I think people view worship. I don't think people would view it as efficient, but they view it as a means to an end.
Right.
Like,
it's the perfunctory thing before the teaching of the word.
Yes,
almost a necessary evil.
We have to the women love it, the guys endure it, and we're waiting until someone gets up and starts talking to us for 30 minutes.
Yeah,
to an
I just
hour.
wonder if somebody watches live stream, if they don't just click the message video, do they fast forward the worship to get to the message?
Yes. Yeah. And even in a lot of the worship writing that I think goes on, a lot of the songs are about how God can change our circumstances, how our even engaging in worship is seen as a means to some sort of breakthrough or some sort of circumstantial change, miracle, encounter, whatever. But that phrase, worship isn't efficient, to me, kind of stands as this prophetic reminder of worship is about Jesus, not what you can get out of it.
Well, yeah, and I mean, when you think about efficiency as almost a pie chart, where it's like, hey, I've got so many hours in my week to spend worshiping, that most people, the only time that they really ever even think about worship is that 90 minutes on Sunday morning. Even when you expand the meaning of worship beyond the singing of songs.
Yeah.
When you go, hey, worship is life, your life is a reflection, I think most people, if we're really being honest, we look at our worship as efficient. It's more segmented that, well, I've got my spiritual life, then my work life, and then my family life, and Jesus would respectfully disagree.
Yes.
Or maybe not respectfully disagree. I don't know. He would just disagree.
He would disagree.
Yeah. He's like, hey, worship is life.
Yeah.
And so as soon as you start trying to, make it a part of your pie for efficiency purposes, you've missed it.
Yes.
And here she's extravagant, extravagant, a year's wages.
Yeah. Worship is the pie.
Yeah.
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 Not a slice.
Yeah, how you live out that pie is really the point, not whether it's a piece of the pie.
Yeah. I do want to this is a quick little thing just because you said respectfully. You said this, I think it was,
I know what you're
do you know
about
what I'm
to
saying?
say. Yeah.
When you said at the end of the second service, we had a lady get baptized that was a former Satanist. And you were like, respectfully, take that, Satan. I was sitting there, I was like, disrespectfully, take that, Satan. Like,
yeah. I knew as soon as I said it, I'm like, yeah. I didn't mean to respect Satan. My bad.
I did. Back to the point. I just thought it was really funny.
Yeah.
But there's this book. It's called The Royal Waste of Time. It's about worship. It's by a lady named Marva Dawn, who I think, she's a PhD, Christian ethics and scriptures at the University of Notre Dame. But she has this phrase,
Golden Domer.
the Golden Domer. Let's see. At the end of the second chapter, it says, worship is a royal waste of time that spirals into passion for living as Christians and back into more passionate worship. It is totally irrelevant, not efficient, not powerful, not spectacular, not productive, sometimes not even satisfying to us. It is also the only hope for changing the world.
That's funny. I titled this message, I don't ever say the title of my message is this, but I titled it The Beautiful Waste of Worship.
Yeah.
We can look at it as a waste of time when Jesus would say, yeah, but what a beautiful waste.
Yeah.
Is there a better way?
Yeah. So your second point, worship grows where love deepens. Whenever you said that phrase, it struck me. There's this saying, the grass is always greener, and it's like the grass is greener where you water it. And that, if you want to feel closer to the Lord, like you're walking in a more intimate relationship with Him, you have to sow into that.
Right.
That's not something that's just like, God, I want this. Okay. It's like, this is, I don't like using the word work because people get way off base with that.
Right.
But you have to put the reps in. You have to,
Well, we grab, if we grab Mary, the sister of Martha, the sister of Lazarus, if we look at every time that she's mentioned, she's only mentioned 4 times in Scripture, and the Matthew and John are the same account. It just happened a little bit differently between the two of them. In Luke 10 is where she was sitting at his feet, listening to his teaching, while Martha's running around. So we remember that. And what did Jesus say? Mary's chosen the wiser thing, or the better thing. In John 11:32, after Lazarus dies, Jesus shows up 4 days later. She runs out and she falls at his feet. The parallel passage in John 12, she's anointing his feet with the perfume and with her tears. And so every time she's mentioned, she's at the feet of Jesus, which I think is pretty significant.
Yeah.
That it paints a picture of this was not a one-off event for her. This isn't something that for the very first time she chose to do something extravagant. It was displayed in her life, and so her worship wasn't impulsive. It was actually the fruit. It was the fruit of her intimacy with Him. Of course, where we end every week is talking about the secret place, and your life of worship, it really begins and ends there.
Yeah.
That what happens as an outflow is merely the symptom of a life of worship.
Yeah.
Like we sometimes, and I said this on Sunday, if you have a worship problem, you have an intimacy problem. And I'm not saying if you don't raise your hands and sing at the top of your lungs, you're not a worshiper, because some people do internalize and they're having an experience with the Lord. There have been Sundays when I can't sing because I'm too choked up. But as a rule, I would say, if you say, well, worship's not my thing, then I would say, well, it's Jesus' thing. It's heaven's thing. So you should probably figure that out. But it's actually the fruit of intimacy.
Yeah.
So if you have a worship problem, you have an intimacy problem. If you have a serving problem, you have an intimacy problem. If you have a giving problem, you have an intimacy problem. Because all of these things all stem from intimacy with Jesus, a life of worship.
Well, it'd be like, going out on a date with your wife once a week, or if we're going to take the average church attendance, like 1.5 times a month,
Yeah.
not talking at all in between those times, and expecting there to be any sort of depth, meaning,
I mean,
know.
yeah. Have you been sitting in some of my counseling sessions? Because it really is shocking to me that people show up and their marriage is in shambles, but they're really doing nothing to foster an intimate relationship.
Yeah.
You can just tell they generally don't like each other. Mm-hmm. And they're but both of them are expecting the other one to do the silver bullet that's going to fix it. When really it's all about time spent, communication, learning how to do conflict, learning how to have a relationship.
And that takes time. It takes face time.
Yes.
And I think we're wanting all the benefits of like being in relationship with Jesus without any of the FaceTime requirements
Right.
that would make any of that stuff make sense.
So let's take the converse of that. You can have people that on Sunday morning raise their hands, sing at the top of their lungs, dance, and make a big deal, but then go to Los Cucas after church, and their enchiladas are cold, and so they yell at the waiter, stiff them. They don't deserve a tip. Or go home and be mean to their family or whatever. I think we're you may have grown up in a stream of faith where expressiveness in the time that we call worship is just kind of ingrained in you.
Yeah.
So you automatically.
It's more cultural than
Yeah,
theological.
you may raise your hands, you may sing, but the fruit of your life tells the story of worship, not whether you raise your hands and sing. Now, that can be a symptom, but I think it's got to be one segment of a bigger part of your life that's telling this.
Yeah, I mean, 1 John says, if you say you love God and hate your brother, you're a liar, and the truth isn't in you.
Right.
So it's important to have that, like, hey, I want to live life in worship. I want to worship God. You've said this the last few weeks, I think, like the lifting of the hands doesn't make you charismatic, it makes you biblical.
Right.
I want to worship God according to his preference, not according to my preference.
Right.
But God cares far less about how you engage in a song than he does how you engage with people, especially how you engage with people who don't know him.
Yeah, if you're worshiping, singing at the top of your lungs, but you're having an affair, God's not listening to your songs.
God's like cool
Yeah,
song, dude.
that's literally Amos 5.
Yeah.
Away with the noise of your songs. If you're living in full-blown compromise, but have convinced yourself that maybe somehow that you're earning favor with God because of that act, you're really missing the point.
Yes. And back to missing the point, the disciples, I guess they were viewing what she was doing as like, hey, man, we have more efficient ways we could be using this. Like, you might think, well, I want to spend 15 minutes with Jesus, or maybe inside in your heart you go, man, I wish I could spend an hour with Jesus, but I just have more things I need to get to.
Yeah.
Things that have to get done. And it's
Well-
like, well, do you?
Right.
Do you have other things you have to do?
When I think about when they said you could have given it to the poor, this alabaster jar full of expensive perfume, a year's wage, whatever that was, let's just say, was in today's world, let's say it's equivalent to 50 or 60 grand. In our impoverished, the poverty part of our nation, 50 or 60 grand is not going to move the needle. I think that's why Jesus is like, hey, the poor are always going to be with you. You live in a war-torn country. If she gave every bit of this, it would not solve the poverty problem. And it's bigger than that. I think that's why he's saying, listen, you're not always going to have me. Like she is doing the thing that honors me the most in this moment. And while you see it as a waste, it's like, well, that wasn't going to fix the problem anyway.
Also, I think it's important, for people who are more socially minded, like people who in a genuine way have a heart for like social issues and helping the poor. And it's important to realize that like all of that stuff comes as an overflow of worship, not at the expense of worship. So like the disciples were viewing these two things as separate things.
Right.
Not like, it's easy to go into a church and go, oh, man, look at this building. Like, we could have just using all this money. We could have took all this money and give it to missions.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, you could have. That's not the point, though. Like,
Right.
we're building a bigger building to facilitate more people coming to encounter, embrace, embody the way of Jesus week in and week out. Atheists, Satanists, all these people, and
Jews.
and now
that just happened.
And now they go out and do the missions
Right.
with their lives. It's not you're not just throwing money at a problem, which I think people think that's
It's the American way in
Yeah.
some ways, especially if you're upwardly mobile. It's easier to give money to something almost to absolve yourself of any guilt than to jump in and be a part of the solution.
Yeah.
And I'm talking more outside the walls.
Well, even yesterday, as a staff, we went to a prison and served lunch to a lot of the guards. Got to pray and talk to a few of the inmates that were getting released that day. And man, it would be way easier and more comfortable to just go, hey, we'll just like write you guys a check to pay for the lunch you're going to provide for these people than it would be to take, a good chunk of the workday to go down and sit across from guys who have been in prison for the last 10 years.
Right.
And be like, I think sometimes we throw money at things that we are unwilling to be uncomfortable in. So like yesterday, I was sitting across from this guy named David, been in prison for the last 10 years. He had been at that jail for the last 4. He was getting released that day, and just asking him his story, and I felt super uncomfortable. Like, I'm like, I don't know this guy. I don't know, I don't know what to say that could be like the wrong thing to say, whatever. And his son was also in prison, and then while David's been in prison, his son like OD'd and died. And so he was like, man, as soon as I get out, I want to go find where he's buried. And then his daughter, who's 27, who he hasn't seen since she was a little girl, he's like, I'm hoping to build a relationship with her, and if she'll have me. And those are like real nitty gritty life stuff
Right.
that we could have given money to 7 more to pay for the tacos and be like, we did our good deed, but it's like, I think we also fail to see that sitting across from people who are, in the weeds of life, it's just as much for our good as it is for their good. Like,
Heck yeah.
and I miss out on that by just throwing money at it.
Right. Well, and I was texting back and forth with Josh Walker, who is the founder of 7 More. They're there Monday through Friday. So they're life on life with all of these people, and watching the favor that he has in that jail, that he and I and Josh walked into the warden's office and sat and talked to him for 15 minutes.
Unheard of.
Oh yeah, it just doesn't happen. And he was talking about how grateful he is for Restoration, that we have so many in our body that are engaged, that are a part of what's going on. And obviously yesterday was a little out of the ordinary because we took our entire staff over there, which was probably more people than they really needed.
Yeah.
For that. There was some standing around at times, but the idea that Restoration is showing up, and that is a spiritual act of worship. You sitting across from that guy and just listening, that is a part of your spiritual act of worship, because you were a living sacrifice in that moment.
Well, I also think, like, how does God deal with us? Does God give us things, or does God give us presents? Well, both, but like, when it really matters, it's God's presence. Like, everyone who's anyone in church history would say, like, it's God's presence in the midst of difficulty, not just him throwing things at you to fix the problem.
Right.
But we view life as like the opposite. It's like, I don't want to give presents, I just want to give money away or provisions or whatever. And so I think Mary, in a sense, in this story, was being like God.
Yeah.
who is not efficient by our standards. You know,
He's
when
extravagant.
1,000 years are as a day, we have different definitions of efficiency.
Yeah, true. Well, the last point that I made on Sunday, because Jesus says, "Hey, wherever this gospel goes out, you're going to be remembered for what you just did," and it just made me think, that your life of worship is a calling card to the gospel, meaning the way that you live out your faith. The fruit of your intimacy, it's not you going out looking like a Christian. It's you living life on life with Jesus. He's changing you from the inside out. And then how you go live that out, your Ephesians 2:10 calling. The way that you're living out the purposes of Jesus in the world is a calling card to the gospel.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what he was saying. He's like, hey, and I just think, man, here we are a couple thousand years later after this has happened, and we're still talking about this moment in time. Captured by two writers, by Matthew and John.
Yep.
And we're still talking about it. And I thought, man, what about me? Like a couple thousand years from now, are people going to be talking about me? Are they going to be talking about, something that I did that was life-changing for them, or life-changing for their ancestors, and it's been passed down from generation to generation. I mean, that's the stuff that legacy is made of, right?
Yeah.
And not for my glory, but I'm like, I would love to think that I can make an impact just like Mary can.
I'm willing to worship God in such a way that it might be offensive to people.
Offensive and extravagant. That it's so far beyond me. I want to live a life of worship that's so far beyond me.
Yeah.
It's not just within the, because that would be efficient, right? I'm just gonna, it's the 5 fish and 2 loaves, or is it 5 loaves and 2 fish?
I think it's that one.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of food to feed the multitude.
Yeah.
I mean that would be to try to break that all only what they had, and give everybody a little morsel. That's efficient. Extravagant is when Jesus touches it and it feeds everybody with 12 baskets left over.
Yeah.
That's just craziness.
It's good. Well, church, hope this episode has given you food for thought. A little 5 loaves, 2 fish.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's getting late in the day, so.
It's about dinner time.
Yeah, and I hope that in your secret place time with Jesus, you can begin to explore what it would look like to live a life of extravagant worship. See you next week.
See you.